Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing very well. Welcome back to the PlaneMaker tutorial series. In this video I'm just going to cover kind of some of the things you can do to just kind of wrap up your aircraft. So it should be pretty quick. I'm just going to cover a few extra functions and some tabs we haven't gone over yet in PlaneMaker. And so yeah, without further ado, let's get right into the video. So when you've got your mostly finished aircraft open, if you want, you can just leave it as is and fly it around and you'd be totally fine. I like to do a few things just to wrap things up. So the first thing you might want to do is in the viewpoint tab, you can edit a whole bunch of information about your aircraft. You can give it a custom registration number. You can give it a custom call sign for the X-plane air traffic control. You can specify the author, so it's me, type my name. You can write a little brief description of your aircraft. One thing you might want to consider more seriously doing is setting your stall warning horn alpha. So alpha is angle of attack if you didn't know. For this fighter, 10 degrees is probably too little. I'll just say 20. And then over here on this side you can set your V-speed, so VSO is, I believe, stall speed with flaps extended, I think. VNE we talked about. MMO is the maximum Mach number, and then there are G limits here. So because this is a fighter, I'm going to set the maximum allowable G limit at +9 and -4 Gs. So you can also position the viewpoint of the 2D panel relative to the origin of your aircraft. So I'm just going to raise it up a bit so it's off the ground and it's a bit more realistically positioned. This just affects what your view looks like in X-plane. Again, totally optional, you don't have to do this. I like to do this just to kind of wrap things up. If you want your aircraft to look shiny, you can check this box, and it'll be shiny. Again, totally up to you. And the last thing you might want to consider, just to wrap things up, in terms of basic aircraft properties, is going into special equipment and just kind of looking over this stuff. The most basic thing you might want to do is give yourself the ability to pump fuel and oil to the engines when you're inverted. I just do this on all my aircraft in case, you might end up inverted. So we'll talk about some of this other stuff in an additional video. And that's all of the additional aircraft properties I like to go over just before I call my aircraft mostly done. Another thing so I'm also going to talk about how to add weapons to your aircraft. This is very useful for those of you designing a fighter, obviously. So to add weapons to your aircraft, you go to Expert, Default Weapons, and you have 20 different slots where you can give your aircraft weapons. So to give your aircraft a weapon, you click on this little box, same as the airfoils. And then you go to the weapons folder in X-plane. Let's say I wanted to carry an AIM-9 Sidewinder. I just would click that right there. And if I go to wireframe view, you can see now there's a weapon attached to my aircraft's origin. So weapons are positioned the same way everything else is in PlaneMaker on the 3 axes. So I'm just going to position my Sidewinder. I'm going to put one on each wingtip. So I'm just going to line it up and adjust it how I see fit. And then I'm going to go back into weapons. So all of these are X-plane's default weapons. Some aircraft manufacturers in X-plane choose to make their own custom weapons if they are not available in the defaults. So The AIM-120 AMRAAM is a medium-range active radar-guided missile, or a Fox-3, flown by the U.S. Air Force and Navy. The AIM-54 Phoenix is another active radar-guided missile, or another Fox-3, that was flown on the F-14 Tomcat. The AIM-7 Sparrow is a passive radar-guided missile, flown by the U.S. Armed Forces. The AIM-9 Sidewinder is a passive infrared-guided missile. And then the drop tank is just an external fuel tank. The GBU is a laser-guided precision bomb. And then the GAU 30mm is a 30mm cannon that's used on the A-10. M39 is a 20mm cannon used on the F-5 Tiger II. And then the M61 Vulcan is a 20mm cannon that is flown on a lot of aircraft, some of the ones here are listed. So this is a LiDAR pod. This is a lantern pod. Both of these are targeting pods. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. The Maverick is a air-to-ground missile, also known as the AGM-65. And the Mark 83 is, I believe, a 1,000-pound bomb, I think. But I want another Sidewinder, so that's what I'm going to do. And again, I'm just going to position it, make sure it's on the other side of my aircraft. And that is what you do with those. Oh, well, okay, good job me, those aren't positioned properly at all. My wingtips are rather skinny, but whatever, that's okay. So now I can shoot down other aircraft. I've got weapons. I'll talk a bit more about a sneaky little trick you can use to give yourself more weapon slots, kind of, in another video, but for now I think that'll be it. So, as a basic aircraft, I'm going to say this one is pretty much done. Now I would start flight testing, making improvements, and yeah, so I hope you found these tutorials helpful for kind of modifying basic properties of an aircraft. As always, if you have any questions about anything whatsoever related to PlaneMaker, just come on over to the office hours and I will do my very best to help you out. So yeah, I'm also going to make a few more optional videos that might be interesting to some of you who are designing fighters. I might talk a little bit about super maneuverability, thrust vectoring, kind of more advanced flight control design. If you're interested, those will be on a Google Drive folder somewhere. I'll put that on the screen in editing. And yeah, so I hope you found this helpful. As always, come over to office hours if you have questions, and yeah, thanks for watching.